Hi everyone, my name is Sébastien Lagree. I am the creator and founder of Lagree Fitness. Today I want to talk about the Megaformer. Yes, this guy behind me over here. The Megaformer has been in use for about 12 years. We've gone through many models, and during that time the Megaformer has created quite a name for itself. It's becoming the object of attention and desire by everyone in the industry. So we have very famous people, athletes, politicians, royalty. Lots of people fell in love with the Megaformer. So I want to talk about what makes a Megaformer the Megaformer. So first, it's the Megaformer. It's not a reformer. So I did a video already talking about the difference between the Mega and the Reformer. So if you want more information about that, just watch a video called Megaformer versus Reformer. And also, there's no such thing as a Mega Reformer. That does not exist. There's no machine called the Mega Reformer. There's no classification of equipment called the Mega Reformer. So if you see a copy of the Mega, that copy does not make it a Mega or a Mega Reformer. That does not exist. So you don't have Reformers and you have the Megaformer. So let's dig in. So what is a Megaformer? Well, a Megaformer is essentially a bed-like frame made out of metal. It's characterized by two end platforms. So we have a front platform that is fixed over here on the front, and then we have a fixed platform on the back. In the middle, we have a bigger platform which slides back and forth. Now, this bigger platform is called the Carriage. So we have a front platform, back platform, and we have a Carriage. The Carriage is hooked to a series of springs. And we use these springs essentially to stimulate your muscles. So on some of the exercise, the spring is actually going to help you against gravity. So the springs will actually make the exercise easier. And on some exercise, the springs will actually make the exercise harder. So when you work on the front of the machine, you have a possibility of doing pulling or pushing exercise. So when you do a pulling exercise on the front, the spring is actually going to help you. The more springs you have, the easier the exercise will become. So when you do a lunge, for example, if you do a plank, you're going to notice that the more springs you have, the easier the exercise becomes. So it's great because this allows you to keep your body alignment against gravity, which you cannot do without this machine. This is why when I see people on social media saying that they can recreate all the exercise on the Mega on the floor, I'm like, you do not understand body mechanics because you cannot recreate these movements on the floor. You need the sliding carriage with the spring. Also on the front, you can do heavy pushing exercise, which means like a skating or icebreaker. So some of you might not know these words, but you can do a lot of pressing exercise, like a chest press, or leg press. You can do this. So for this exercise on the front, the more tension you have, the more difficult the exercise will be. And then the beauty about the Megaformer, and that was really my claim to fame, was to add a whole ensemble on the back end. Because before me, no one else has thought of it as I thought of doing that. So on the back end, when you work against the spring, you get no support at all. So all the exercises on the back are hard. They are very difficult. So when you do planking or lunges or any kind of a push-up or whatever, right? Oblique exercise, leg exercise, the spring is going to intensify the exercise. So you don't get any support at all, but you're working against your body weight and the tension from the spring. So during a class, you're going to be moving from the front to the back, and you're going to break up the intensity. Usually on the front, you're working on your posture and your alignment, and then on the back, you really work about you're really working against the intensity of an exercise. So the Megaformer essentially is 3 machines in one. So I built the Megaformer around the user's experience. When you have people taking a class, you're going to have smaller people and taller people. So the machine needs to work for both people. You can always fit small and tall people on a bigger machine, but not the other way around. So the Megaformer is mega size. You'll find that depending on the model, the length varies from 117 inches to 134 inches. So that's even longer than this one. This M3K Plus right now is about 125 inches in length and about 32 inches in width. The width is very important, especially when you're a tall person. I'm 6'4", so when I get on the Carriage, I have plenty of room on the M3K Plus to adjust myself laterally. That means I can adjust my body to the right or to the left, so I can find my perfect form, because ultimately the machine is about form, right? Just like when the car manufacturer builds a car, it's around how the person is sitting in the car, it's comfortable. Well, it's the same thing over here with the Megaformer. People need to be comfortable when they do the exercise. Comfortable doesn't mean that it's not going to be painful, okay? Trust me, Lagree is painful, okay? And if you have not done Lagree already, sorry to burst the bubble over here, but it is going to be a painful workout. You're going to be shaking, you're going to be sweating, you're going to be sore the next day. So the Megaformer is designed to give you all the anchoring points so that you can keep control over the exercise and so that your joints are properly aligned so you're not hurting yourself when you do the movements. The Carriage is perhaps the most important component of the Megaformer because this is where you're going to spend most of your time. So you'll notice that for all the Megaformer, our Carriage are oversized. This one is about 47 inches in length and about 32 inches in width. But beside the super size of the Carriage, what also makes the Carriage more functional are the anchoring points. So the anchoring points are essentially the openings you have, the handles. So on this machine over here, we have the half a ring of fire on each side. We have the handles. When you look at the Carriage from the top, it almost looks like a Christmas tree with different branches. Well, these branches are very important because they accommodate people from 4'9" to 6'6". So everybody can find their own perfect form. And in addition, with the anchoring points, you have the indicia. And what is the indicia? The numbers, the colors, the lines on the Carriage. So using the anchoring point and indicia, people can find their form very quickly. For example, I have 20 people in class. I'll say, okay, we'll do a super lunge, left foot, put your left foot between 10 and 11, and put your right foot on 4, okay? Well, that might work for most of the people, but if you're 4'9", you might want to put your right foot by 7, and if you're 6'6", you might want to put your right foot by 1. So now you have a lot of options, and then you'll remember that the next time you do the class. So this is those are great features for class environment. And of course, the other big features of the Carriage is the spring location. So here we have the springs on the back of the Carriage. I am the only person to actually hook the springs at the back of the Carriage. I have many patents on this design. And the reason I've changed the placement of the springs to the mid part of the machine versus the front is because when we were using the springs on the front end, it was taking us a long time. So on everyone else's machine, you have to actually go back on the front, and sometimes you have to lift up the platform. You have to hook the spring, which can take a lot of time because sometimes some of the springs come with a very small loop, and the hook is very big, and it's taking forever to actually hook that spring into the hook. So I move completely away from this because this was a huge waste of time in class. Sometimes it could take up to 3 minutes for 10 people to change the springs. It's not good. So now we have the quick release system. Also, we have 2 new systems past the quick release. We have super fast and lightning. Lightning allows you to change all the springs all at once using a remote control. If you want more information about the lightning technology, please watch our Evo 2 video. And if you want to get the Megaformer with the lightning technology, you can absolutely retrofit it on any version of the Mega, from the M3 all the way to the M3X. So why the Mega? Well, I've created a very specialized type of fitness called Lagree Fitness. So all the machines that I make are actually to do Lagree. However, you can use the machine for other types of workout. So I'll start with Pilates. If you are a Pilates studio, you want to get the Megaformer, you can absolutely teach Pilates on the Megaformer, but I would still recommend a reformer because it's like a lot of machine for just the Pilates method. It's a little bit like buying a Lamborghini and then only driving it when you get coffee on a Sunday morning. But if that's what you want, if you want to get the Megaformer for your Pilates studios, you can absolutely operate it and you are going to love it. Also, the Megaformer is an incredible piece of equipment. It's so versatile. You can do over 1,000 exercises. You can recreate almost any gym exercise, squats, bench press, and so on. You can recreate them on the Megaformer with the added benefit that it's going to target your core and it's going to integrate all the muscles together. So when I work out, I have my gyms, and I have, I think, about 32 pieces of fitness equipment from leg presses, bench press, lat pull down, cable machines, towers, and then we have all kinds of those specialized equipment, and also have created my own fitness equipment. I'll tell you that the Megaformer is the only piece of equipment in that gym that can recreate everything and more. So if space is a factor and you're thinking about getting a multi-gyms or whatever, I would highly consider the Megaformer. And because again, you have the other benefits of all the core. And talking about core, there's no other machine on planet Earth that targets your core better than the Megaformer. The Megaformer should be called a core former, really, because it's an incredible machine to strengthen the core. The Mega has over 100 patents, and like I said, so we have a lot of patents on technology like the anchoring point or the spring change. We have a lot of patents on the cables. Pretty much everything you see on this machine now is patented in one way or another. We've gone through a phenomenal evolution in the past 12 years, and we have many models to choose from. You have an M1, an M2, an M2S. Well, these have been discontinued, but they were there. M3, M3S, M3K, and M3X. So the accessories. So in order to use the Megaformer, you can use the Megaformer naked. So what is the Megaformer naked? Well, it doesn't have the bungee, it doesn't have the strap, it doesn't have the cables, and you can actually use this machine the way it is, just with the springs. But if you want to spice things up, I would highly recommend to add the accessories. So let's start with the front. Over here on the front, we have the bungee cord. Now you can use the bungee cord as a separate, self-contained source of tension. We use it mostly to do an exercise called the bungee kick, to do a glute exercise, but you can get pretty creative with it and make up other exercises. We have the straps on the platform and on the carriage, and then the rear platform. Again, these straps allow you to secure your feet or hook your feet under, and they allow you to basically stay secure on the machine, on the carriage, as you move the carriage back and forth. So I highly recommend the straps. We have a strap located at the bottom over here. It's called the X strap. Again, you can sit on either the platform or the carriage. You can hook your feet under the strap, and you can do more ab exercise. And there's a lot of exercise you can do with the X straps. And then finally, we have our cables over here. You have the long black cables and then the short red cables. The long black cables are going to be used with the carriage. So if you do a kneeling torso twist, a super lunge, or if you want to recreate any exercise you do at the gym, like a tricep or shoulder press, a bicep curl or whatever, you're going to use these cables. You'll sit or stand on the carriage or kneel on the carriage, however you want to do it. And you're going to get the added benefit of the back and forth movement of the carriage, which is going to engage your core muscle. So that's going to be really the single difference between doing a bicep curl kneeling on the carriage versus a bicep curl standing on the floor, is that when you do this bicep curl on the carriage, you're not only hitting the biceps, but also because you are moving with the tension, your body has to stabilize your spine, your skeletal structure has to be stable. So you're going to engage way more muscles because these muscles have to stabilize your body. If you were doing the same exercise on the floor, there would be no need to stabilize because the floor is not moving back and forth or underneath you. So this is why this machine is so much healthier than any other machine out there, is because you can't concentrate on this using the Megaformer. You can only integrate, and that is a phenomenal way of strength training. But the Megaformer is really not built to build size. It's really built to build strength, which is very different from size. And the other cables that I didn't talk about is the red cables over here. These red cables now can be used on the floor with the variable tension from the springs. So let's say that I was going to do a bicep curl. You have three options. I could do a bicep curl standing on the floor, and I could just really focus on the biceps. So I'd be basically concentrating on the biceps. I could be doing it kneeling on the carriage, so now I'm moving with the carriage. So you can see now I'm using my abs, I'm using my back, I'm using my obliques, I'm using all the muscles basically to help me to stabilize my body. Because obviously when you see people moving on the carriage, you don't see the spine doing this. You see them retaining their posture. That's because all the muscles along the trunks are engaged. That would not happen if I was doing my bicep curl, right? And also the other benefit is I'm working with the springs. If I'm doing dumbbells over here, I'm working in static weight. So if, let's say I have a 25-pound dumbbell, it's always 25 pounds. But here when I use the springs on the carriage, so not only I'm hitting the core, but I had that variable tension. So as I'm pulling my hands to my shoulders, I gradually get more strength or more tension. And as I'm releasing the tension, I get less. So the spring, what's great with the spring is that the spring is easing the tension on the connective tissues, which is fantastic because this will prevent you from hurting yourself or hurting your joints over the long run. And I'd say the third option would be to position yourself right over here at the back of the Megaformer using those handles, right? And then here I could do a bicep curl. Now here, if I do a bicep curl, now I don't get the core engagement that we get on the Carriage, but I still benefit from the variable tensions from the springs. So you have so many options to work out on the Megaformer. It's crazy. The Megaformer is perhaps the most versatile type of fitness equipment that exists out there. So which version of the Mega is best for you? Well, first of all the Megaformers are about the same size, right? Between 117 inches in length to 134 inches. This one's 125 inches, so there's not much difference between 117 and 125. They're all about the same width. They all occupy about the same square footage, which is about 100 square feet. So you're not going to save that much space by getting an M2 versus an M3 or an M3S. So what you have to ask yourself is, what do I want to do? What kind of workouts do I want to do? Well, if you like to do a lot of exercises laying on your back, and that's pretty much, let's say you have a lot of issues with your body and there's a lot of standing exercise you can't do or whatever, and you are required to lay on your back, then I would recommend the M2 or the M3 because these two models have the most amount of padding on the Carriage. But if you like to do a more muscular endurance workout and if you really want to challenge yourself a lot more, then I would recommend an M3S, an M3K, an M3X. These machines are built with the muscular endurance in mind. Now there's another accessory which I didn't talk about, and that's the ramp. So the ramp was developed right around the M3S. Operate a Megaformer and the ramp. I do not recommend to buy an M3. First of all, the ramp does not fit on the M2. It only fits on the M3 frame. So you can use a ramp with the M3, the M3S, the M3K, the M3X. But I would not recommend the M3 because the M3 lacks all the anchoring points needed for the ramp. Think about it. When you use a ramp, you're going to be elevating the back end of the floor. So you're going to be working at an incline. So you're going to want to have all these anchoring points. You're going to want to have as many openings so you can find that perfect spot. It's kind of like rock climbing, right? You're going to need all these different crevices in order to put your hands, you can rest there and so on. So that is also another big consideration when you get a Megaformer. And finally, I want to talk about the Megaformer versus the Evo. A lot of people think that the Evo is part of the Megaformer family, and it is not. The Megaformer line of equipment is really our functionality and utility line. This is kind of the bread and butter. You can accessorize this machine. You have a lot of places over here. You can add accessories. You can make this as intense as you want. You can add the ramp. You can add bungee cables everywhere. Soon we're going to have spring with shrouds that you can add anywhere you want. So you can really accessorize the Megaformer as much as you want. With the Evo, not so much. Matter of fact, with the Evo 2, you don't even have room for the, you don't have a place for the right cables. You don't have a place for the bungee. I removed those intentionally. You cannot add these accessories. Also on the Evo 2, you cannot fit the ramp. So I want you to be aware of this, that the Evo 2 is really about aesthetic and technology. And the Megaformer line of equipment is about functionality and utility. And these two lines will basically develop together, and then you'll see how they're going to branch out and grow in a different direction. Some studios might want an Evo 2 because sometimes, it's important to make a certain statement. So the Evo 2 will be a great machine in a very fancy area, and especially with a great setting, because the Evo 2 is all about lights and remote control technology and all that stuff. Anyway, if you want to see more information about the Evo 2, or any of the machines, or sometimes you want to see comparison between Mega models, go to Lagree Fitness and click on About Lagree. And then you'll see right there's a link that says Machine Comparison. And then click on that, then you'll see all the comparison between the different models. If there's a comparison that you want us to shoot, please let us know and email us at info@lagreefitness.com. Again, my name is Sébastien Lagree. Thank you for watching.